Anyway, we find that the monopoly of Nagas, resources of water, made them political authorities before early state formation evolved. They became embodiments of eco-sovereignty, not ethnic identity, custodians of land, fertility, and irrigation. They emerged localized territorial powers tied to specific Naga sites spread all across the valley. However, by Kalhana's time, kingship had long replaced these structures, therefore, calling Nagas deities allowed him also to preserve their authority with clarity, clearly placing them before and below human beings, as happens in history in many parts of the world. The kind of deification is a chronological downgrading from rulers to gods. If Nagas were portrayed as mere human beings, then they would rival kings. As mere tribes, they would delegitimize royal genealogy, so he makes them deities, devas, who sanction kingship, supernatural predecessors who hand over sovereignty. The migrants from outside, both in ancient and medieval times, were not proud of their Greek, Parthian, Kushan, Mauryan, Turkish, Tajik, Mongol, Egyptian, Semitic, Afghan, Baloch identity, but of newly obtained Kashmiri identity because of region's cultural superiority, which was basically the bedrock of our multiculturalism that needs to be really noted by all of us. The most powerful agency which brought about this broader view of Kashmir's historical and cultural development after 200 BC has undoubtedly been religiosity, in which Vedic Aryans, Brahminical theology, Phallic and Proto-Shaivite, Tantric, Buddhist Shakta and their mystical variants, Mother Goddess cult, and more importantly above all, I would say, heretic traditions were deeply rooted, which did not contradict Brahmanism, which did not contradict Islam. I would like to quote a small example here. I think, take it seriously, don't say it's a joke. A Muslim family which goes to Hajj in recent past, the gentleman, fell down in a crowd, got suffocated. When he was lifted and kept in his senses again, the first thing that he uttered in Kaaba, the first thing that he uttered, hey, tasgir sabun sujau swache. Hey, tasgir sabun sujau swache. He is there in Kaaba, he has not to worry. That is the strength of our heretic tradition. You must have seen large population, whatever the number, they migrated to Pune, to Baroda, to Jammu, to Delhi, to all other places, Indore, Hyderabad, so many other places. You will find Gopinath Ji's ashram is being constructed in Hyderabad. In Jammu it is there. I am sure Pune also they must be method. Even across the globe you find such kinds of heretic traditions. Even in the families they keep these things. And yet we believe in universal consciousness, we believe in God and so on. I am only giving you a synoptic of the whole thing. Since Kashmir occupied centrality of topography, this I would like to mention you that one of our advantages has been that we always occupied centrality of topography between Indian civilization on one side and Chinese, Iranian and wider Central Asian, and also I would include Eastern Europe on the other. All these civilizations seriously influenced people's lives, their earlier theological and other perceptions, institutions in Kashmir from time to time, in which the Silk Route trade, pottery, religious rituals which played a very, very significant role. When Alexander, at the close of his campaign, was returning from India, he left to the king of Abhisara to rule over Kashmir without our consent, with the state of Arkansas, that is Hazara, added to his kingdom. Al-Baladuri says that governor of Sindh, Hisham ibn Amr al-Taglibi, conquered Kashmir, obtained many prisoners and slaves during 8th century AD. The Chronicle of Rajdhani, composed by Kalhana as one of the earliest and most remarkable historical kavya in Asia, is an attempt not merely to record events but to understand the passage of time itself. Kashmir's intellectual brilliance reached extraordinary heights in the development of Kashmir Shaivism, articulated by thinkers such as Tantrik Abhinav Gupta and many others, whose ideas and consciousness and aesthetics continue to resonate across the world. From 8th to 12th century, Kashmir evolved as a great center of Sanskrit learning, because Buddhism was urban intellectual based, while Tantricism was rural and agrarian based. Buddhism, we have all forgotten, has made a significant contribution to our culture, which was picked up by the Shaivite gurus and incorporated those ideas into Shaivism. The title of Mahapandita, Param Pandita and Kashmiri Pandit was given by none other than Chinese Buddhists. When Kumarajiva from India, many others, who went to China as teachers and taught there, almost Kashmiris used to go as teachers to China almost up to 1953. We have all illustrious rulers like Laltaditya, Avanti Varman, but we also have had notorious kings such as Harsha, Semagupta, Kailasha, and a chain of them, in fact. We had revolts by Dhamaras, Lavanyas, Ikangas, Tatrins, because the alliance between the state and the priestly was unholy. The history of Kashmir is often celebrated for its refined spirituality, sophisticated theology, aesthetic sensibility, but its monopolization by a section of people, Vedic Brahmins, disallowed the mediation of philosophy to larger population at popular level. The popular society that was represented by peasants, pastoralists, craft producers, and others who constituted the fulcrum of pre-14th century and post-14th century Kashmiri society. They were only fleeced under the pretext of rituals, ceremonies, magico-tantric practices. Shaiva acharyas and tantric gurus opened up Shaiva temples and matthas with state's patronage, having huge amount of lands attached to the temples as agraharas, controlled region's economy, polity through their unholy alliance with the state. These early theological frameworks in Kashmir also intersected with political power and violence. Accounts of political violence, social unrest, economic exactions, coercion, and cultural degeneration are replete in texts. Dhamara's rebellions in 9th century to 11th century are elaborately documented in Kalhana's Rajtarani. To understand this violence only in political terms, however, is to overlook the deeper cultural logic and material conditions experienced by Kashmir, through which they interpreted their own history. Since Rahil Saab has come here, I could sense it. But let me also assert here, there are 3-4 important points that I would like to make. One is that our history writing, our mysticism, our tradition of Kashmiriyat is born out of violence that took place from, say, 5th century onwards up to almost 14th century. Most of these, one after the other, in fact. The literary tradition became excellent because of these developments. That's very important. Second is that Kashmiris are living with nostalgia. Even today we are living with nostalgia. I know it fully well that I and my children are not going to come to Kashmir because they were born outside. They have different nostalgia, not like the one which I have. But still we make efforts, we live by that. So long as we continue to live by nostalgia, we may not do justice to real Kashmir. Real Kashmir nostalgia has to be given up. We have to indulge in creativity and pass it on to our future generations, as Raj Nehru Sahab said at the very outset. As and when we come to the end of this exhibition, we'll be reminded that Kashmiri's history is not merely a sequence of rulers or events, but a living archive of human experience. This you will realize. Kashmir's legacy, its philosophy, poetry, art, resilience, invites us to look beyond moments of conflict, to recognize as much longer story of creativity, dialogue, and intellectual brilliance. As and when you leave this exhibition, I request you all to carry with you not only the images, artifacts, but deeper awareness that Kashmir is and has always been a place where type, thought, and spirit have converged. Time and thought have converged at many places, but spirit has not converged. So time, thought, and spirit has converged here. Before I register my deep, reverence and respect for the organizers for having asked me to be here, I would like to give you a very, just a small, example here. Zargar Habib is a mystic poet. When people were being killed in Kashmir, when violence was at the peak, what he wrote and what he said in Radio Kashmir. An old gentleman who had not studied books at all, who had no qualifications, comes up with which his grandson or somebody had, written on paper, but orally it was committed to him. He says, Wishta Pannis Abad Khanas, Ganchum Mans Varanas Tulolo. When Diu Panas, Jaladin Sanas, Ganchum Mans Varanas Tulolo, Sorne Panye Voi, Bean Voi, Kibdamat, Chuma Ashkan Mazhab Tadi, Mawchu Zaharas, Napaidaras, Zalvanis Naras Karmchatwas. When I told him that Zalvanis Naras, he said the same heretic tradition. I am appealing to public. Hazrat Balche Dedatal Praras, Hazrat Nebias Dimas Feryad, Gulfalem Naras, Chus Intizaras, Zalvanis Naras Karmchatwas. You can imagine the fellow is not appealing to Chief Minister, he is not appealing to Home Minister, he is not appealing to anybody. He is appealing to his heritage tradition to set his future right. So therefore, our superfluous discussions, debates which a busy world should avoid, no time have been in circulation among Kashmiris for a long time now. We must give it up, and therefore it's possible to retrieve our past by critical thinking that will enable us to see the whole creation and diversity of life on earth as self-expression of God in both the religions of Islam as well as Hinduism. When we believe everything in existence is manifestation of single phenomenon, we belong to one community, we belong to one genre, we belong to one society. That's what we must remember first of all. Thank you. I thank the organizers for giving me opportunity to put before you this hodgepodge, because when you cut it into synopsis, it doesn't taste well. Thank you all.